So shock, I think, was the initial reaction. Nobody in my family has had breast cancer, and so I didn't think of myself as in the high risk category, and it felt kind of surreal, actually. And the initial diagnosis made me believe that it was going to be actually a much smaller surgery, and then through further testing, then we realized that it was much more invasive than originally they thought, and so which then meant that I needed then to have a bilateral mastectomy, which is a much bigger surgery than my initial diagnosis was going to entail. So yeah, and I was terrified, and I have an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, and so my first thought, of course, went to my husband and my kids, and went kind of a dark place, and then I just decided that I needed to kind of bring it back until I had more information about really how severe it was going to be and what that was going to mean for us. So I would say that in the beginning, I was pretty good at compartmentalizing. I was able then to go to doctor's appointments and do research and fill out all the necessary medical forms and whatnot, and then come to school and kind of have it be my escape. And then the more serious it became, and the more kind of impending the surgery became, the harder it became to be able to distance myself then from the emotions. And the one thing I hadn't really prepared myself for was that not only did I have to then regulate my own emotions about the experience, but I then had to also manage everybody else's reactions to what I was going through. So like when I told students, and then students they cried, and then I felt like I had to then figure out how to manage that while still sort of keeping my own emotional kind of like composure. It also then, it was hard for me. I mean, I like to control what happens in my classroom, and I like to kind of dictate what we do, and it required that I actually ask for help from other people, which I'm not really good at, and so that was a shift. I mean, so the students had to be flexible, and then my colleagues were really helpful in terms of kind of stepping up and helping me manage the day-to-day stuff. The preparation, I don't really know how to say, but I don't know how you prepare for that phone call. But I will say, I mean, I am a poster child for early detection. Some of the recommendations now are not to have annual mammograms, or to wait until you are in your 50s, or only if you're in a high-risk category. But my cancer would not have been found had it not been for a combination, actually, of the mammogram and the ultrasound. What I had was called invasive lobular carcinoma, and it's very rare in women my age. It's really hard to find, and so had it not been then for the mammogram and the ultrasound, then I would not have found mine, and potentially then it would have had far more devastating consequences to my body, and potentially then my life, because at this point then it hadn't spread, and so it was relatively simple. Simple to at least treat in the initial stages. I don't know. Like I think sometimes people say, I can't believe that you have been so cheerful, and I can't believe you've been so positive. And I guess I never really thought. It wasn't really ever a choice to me. It was, people are going to follow my lead, right? So they're going to look to me then, and if I'm falling apart, then how are they then going to respond? And so I felt like I had to set the tone for this, and this was not my death sentence. This was going to be, I had a choice. I have a choice every day in terms of the attitude that I'm going to take towards this, and whether or not it's, I'm going to, let it bury me, which some days it did, but for the most part, I made the choice that this is not going to define me, and I'm super grateful for the medical care and the support from my family and my friends and my colleagues and the students and the PTA and the administration. Everyone really kind of rallied around me in a way that was humbling, and I feel really fortunate. I feel pretty darn lucky. So yeah. So I think attitude is everything, right? It's the only thing you can control.